Good evening and thank you so much for joining our streamcast at 10. My name is John Kim, along with our first alert meteorologist, Jack Van Meter. So apparently we're covering the weather conditions, harsh weather conditions that we're having here in Michiana. We had some snowfalls because of that snow system affecting nationwide. And now we're seeing something different, right, Jack?
That's exactly right, John. Good evening to you. Good evening to all of our viewers out there streaming this on WNDU.com or on our apps or wherever you get your streaming services. It's been a rather busy week here in Michiana. And you know what? We'll just throw in the entire month of January as a rather busy one as well. We've already had that massive lake effect event that happened last week that gave everybody close to a foot of snow. That was a fairly impressive event. Obviously, we just got over that big system that just clipped Michiana. That moved on, and now you can see it right behind me, John. That's going to be our next hazard that is going to be impacting this week. It's been a long month for me, and I'm sure it's been a long month for you. Remember all those slide-offs we were talking about on the roads earlier?
Oh, no, yeah, it's been terrible. And then you actually have the nickname for that, the snow clouds that you're looking at right now on our radar, right?
That's right, John. All right, we'll go ahead and get into the forecast. We're going to piece this out in a way. We're going to start off with our current conditions, and then we'll build our way towards future track snow totals. And, of course, we'll end off on our 10-day forecast, just so everybody is prepared for the week ahead. We're actually looking at a wonderful line of lake effect snow, fairly textbook, but just see how it is kind of slithering here. I kind of referred to this as a lake snake. That's kind of my funny term that I have for it, but just a very strong dominant band of lake effect snow. This is going to be fairly different from actually lake effect that we're used to seeing, or let's say that Berrien County or even Van Buren County, just the north of Berrien County. That's where South Haven is, used to what they're seeing, because when we usually have northwest flow over Lake Michigan, let's do a little bit of calculation, shall we? You only have from Milwaukee to, let's say, Benton Harbor to play with. That's all the water that you have to pick up some of the evaporation and to use that as your snowfall. Anytime we see wind coming straight out of the north, you get situations like this, especially tight and strong wind. Obviously, we can see from the top of Lake Michigan, let's say from Traverse City area, all the way down to portions of Valparaiso. That's a lot of lake to work with. So that's why you get these really, really tight, really narrow bands of lake effect snow that's set up. And the issue with them is they usually have embedded very low visibility with them and very strong winds. And that's what we're seeing starting to come onshore here, Valparaiso. And of course, LaPorte is next on deck. So let's go ahead and zoom in, go over to LaPorte County, also impacting portions of Porter County now. Valparaiso getting that nice burst of snow coming through from this very large and in charge lake effect band that is set up. LaPorte is going to be next, and we can see that this band is slowly but surely going to make its way west. But let me tell you something. It is going to be taking its time as it moves over to the east throughout the day today, and actually the evening time, I should say. Excuse me there. It's getting a little late for us. It's been a long day here at the First Alert Weather Center. And then zooming in even more is actually going to show that out in front of the system, just a couple flurries right around Niles, South Bend area. I'm actually looking up at our tower camera that's showcasing on top of our WNDU studios. We are getting some flurries down out ahead that main line of lake effect snow showers that will make its way through the area. In anticipation, there we go, for the lake effect that is going to be coming through, the National Weather Service has a handful of watches and warnings in place. So let's go ahead and start off with the winter storm warning. That's going to be in the pink shaded county. So we're talking Berrien County, portions of LaPorte County, in Porter County. That's where Valparaiso is located. Those communities and those counties are actually going to be seeing higher amounts of snowfall. Anytime a winter storm warning is issued for a portion of a county or for an entire county, that means that there's a very strong probability that over 6 inches of snowfall is set to fall and that a lot of impacts are actually expected to follow. Going off with this purple-blue counties, so we're talking Cass County, St. Joe County, Michigan, and St. Joe County, Indiana. That is going to be a winter weather advisory. Snowfall is still expected for those places, but the probability of 6 inches of snow or more is way less than, of course, in those pink counties. So that's kind of going through the map that we're seeing here in Michiana. Finally seeing a quieter map in terms of winter alerts. As we saw down to our south today, as that big and impactful winter storm came through, a lot of folks, not just in Indiana, but nationwide, were experiencing those crazy winter storm conditions. And unfortunately, a lot of folks had to struggle through that and just quite literally dig themselves out of their house today, as we all saw on social media, John.
That's right, Jack. I mean, you just talked about the winter alerts, but in terms of travel advisory, I think the state of Indiana issued a lot of advisories, and I think you will also walk us through that. But speaking of the snow, nationwide snow, I've seen some videos went viral on social media. I think people in Washington, D.C., they're taking their sleds on the Capitol Hill. And New York.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and in New York, New Yorkers also taking kids and parents having fun with their sleds in the Central Park. I think it's been a while since they've got such snow, but I think now people in Michiana would now asking how much snow we've got so far, and then in terms of regions like counties, how much snow are we expected to see from midnight until tomorrow? So I think a lot of people are asking questions about that. So do you have answers to that, Jack?
I hope I have answers. No, I do, John. I do have answers to that. We're going to be walking through Future Track and then talking about snow totals. You did mention just before, we're going to talk about those travel bans and the watches and advisories that are in place. Here's the current slate across northern Indiana. This orange color, that's going to be a level 2. So that's going to indicate a travel watch is in place. Just a step above, obviously, travel advisory, which St. Joe, LaPorte, Porter, Jasper counties are all under right now. And it kind of goes as 2. So that travel advisory means any leisurely travel is probably not going to be the smartest idea out there, just because roads are fairly traverse out there. Now, that travel watch means that only essential vehicles and essential travel, that should be the only people out on the road. So let's say you have to get into work, healthcare workers, for example, they've got to go into the hospital today. They are allowed to be out there on the roads. Thankfully, no warnings have been issued in northern Indiana. A travel warning would mean only essential people out on the roads and emergency vehicles. Snow plows, the fire department, the police department, nobody else should be out on the roads. Once again, we're doing pretty okay here in Michiana, even though the roads out there are fairly terrible, if I can say so, from experience from going back and forth from work over the weekend. However, crews are out there. They're doing their best right now. The temperature's not helping them whatsoever. Salt is almost ineffective at temperatures right around 0 degrees. Right. Unfortunately, that's where we've been for the past number of days. So the only effective way of actually getting rid of the snow off the roads is just putting that plow down and scraping it to the bare cement. And that's what crews are continuing to do for the overnight hours, and especially as we go into the next week. Here's a look at Future Track. Of course, this is what a lot of folks have been waiting for. So let's go ahead and track out that big band of lake effect snow as it walks through Michiana. It's going to be going from the west, going out to the east. Here's a look at Future Track starting right now at 10 o'clock. We can see, again, Porter County and western LaPorte County being impacted. Also, go ahead and note the temperature. Still going to be cold out there, warmer than it's been, but still cold nonetheless. And as we play this forward, by 11 o'clock, looks like central LaPorte County and also down in Stark and Pulaski County also getting in on the lake effect action. By 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when the band is going to shift from a more north-south direction to more of a west-east, if you will, in the diagonal. They're kind of following US 31, more importantly, kind of following US 30 by 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, moving into portions of St. Joseph and South Bend, Indiana. Keep that in mind. By 8 o'clock this morning, after the sun has already risen, that's when the band is finally going to be losing some steam and actually moving out of Michiana, or that's when it's thinking about moving out of Michiana. And by 11 o'clock in the morning, and of course the noontime hour, that's when we can get that main band of lake effect snow out of the area. Still, flurries are going to be in the forecast for the first couple hours of the afternoon, but the flurries aren't going to be stacking up in terms of precipitation and in terms of snow totals. We are tracking out one more factor for tomorrow's forecast. Got to remember, tomorrow is a first alert weather day, tracking out, of course, impactful lake effect snow, and also talking about cold conditions coming back. We're actually seeing an Arctic blast that is moving back into the region. 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, temperatures right around 5 degrees across the region. Did want to note St. Joe, Michigan there, they're 5 degrees warmer than everybody else. That's because the cloud cover acting as that thermal blanket for them going into the overnight hours. But temperatures are expected to actually go back in the negatives. And you can see for Tuesday, we're actually going to be tracking out more lake effect snow. It's, as of now, not looking as impactful as tonight's snow. So snow totals, obviously, everybody's on everybody's mind, everybody's question as well. This is what we're thinking, and we are fairly aggressive with this because this system does have the potential of dropping a significant amount of snow. I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. What we're looking at is a widespread swath that's going to be in this Columbia blue of 2 to 4 inches. I want to stress most communities going to be right around 2 to 4 inches as this band of lake effect snow moves through Michiana. However, this band is expected to kind of stall and park at portions throughout the night, starting in about an hour or so with LaPorte County over by Valparaiso, where it currently is right now. That's why we have a little bit of a dip in that snow contour, and wherever this band decides to park, there is a decent chance of seeing possibly 5 to even 7 inches of snow. Once again, go ahead and note the areas where you're going to be seeing the most snow. That's where the National Weather Service has also issued those winter storm warnings. Once again, winter storm warning means a high probability of seeing over 6 inches of snow. It's not a done deal, but if you are a betting man or woman for that matter, we don't discriminate around here, you would put down a decent amount of money on that. Now you can see we do have a bullseye up there in Berrien County, leaking over to Cass County and maybe getting close to the state line there. Obviously this is a lot of snow, 8 to 10 inches of snow, and we have been seeing with a few models going throughout the evening and kind of looking at where our lake effect winds are up in the upper atmosphere. If the band decides to park and linger for a little bit, there's a decent chance that some folks could be seeing 8 to 10 inches of snow. That threat is primarily going to stay up in Berrien County, like I said, leaking over into portions of Cass County as well as we go into tomorrow night. So a lot of snow going on here. More importantly, a very busy forecast that we've been seeing from this entire weekend. It looks like it's going to be moving into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon as well. In preparation for this, I'm very happy to see a lot of schools have chosen to have those e-learning days close altogether or even open 2 hours late, just giving folks just a bit of a break to start off the week. And it's looking like it's going to be another cold week ahead for everybody, John.
Well, I can say that based on what you talked about, our beloved friend, lake effect snow, is making its return to our region, and in southwest Michigan, especially the Berrien County and St. Joe, Benton Harbor. Friends out there would be more careful about that snowfall, which is expected to be 8 to 10 inches. So you briefly talked about the school closings. A lot of schools, including South Bend schools and Elkhart and schools in Kosciuszko County, we've been told that they are closing for tomorrow and having e-learning day. And that's not just because of snow, but also something else, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mentioned earlier, John, that tomorrow is a first alert weather day for 2 factors. One of the factors is going to be the lake effect snow.
Right.
And if the snow pans out, which we have a high likelihood of doing, that is going to be the main story for tomorrow. The secondary story is going to be those cold conditions that we were mentioning earlier. So here's a look at tomorrow's forecast, and you got to remember, we're talking just air temperature here. And I did have a message earlier saying Now, how come you're still at 0? The actual high temperature tomorrow is going to be right around 10 to 12 degrees in the morning. And I had to explain to one of our viewers that, yes, you are technically correct that the scientific high temperature for tomorrow will be right around 10 to 12 degrees. However, it's the time of day that is actually going to be occurring. You can see at the beginning of the day, 10 degrees at 7 o'clock in the morning. At noon, also holding steady at 10 degrees. That's thanks to the lake effect clouds keeping some of the heat at the surface. I mean, heat, not a lot of it, but some of it nonetheless at the surface. However, when we forecast a high temperature, we're talking about that afternoon time frame. So if we were to put 10 or 12 degrees on the 10-day forecast for tomorrow, we wouldn't think that's very helpful for you, for our viewers, to plan out your day. Because if that high temperature occurs, let's say, when you're sleeping, you're going to be like, well, that forecast busted. No, that's not true. That actually did occur. So we're here to clear up some confusion there. So we're going with 0 degree in the afternoon because temperatures are going to come back down to that donut mark. That's what Andrew Whitmire calls it. He loves it. He loves it. He's calling it the donut. But this is, again, one of the main reasons why tomorrow is a first alert weather day. I know you guys have to squint. We have a better graphic I'll pull up here in a second. That feel like value at its warmest tomorrow going to be around minus 14 degrees. So dealing with the brutal cold conditions once again moving into Michiana. Here's a look at our wind chill factor for the day tomorrow. These are on Sunday. Hold on, I will grab it in just a second.
Yeah, of course. I think we're talking about the wind chill temperatures below 0. Although our after temperatures are going to be above 0, but we're still talking about how feel like temperatures are right now, and then that's, according to our Jack Van meter, will stay below 0.
There we go. And thank you, John, for the recap there and helping me out as I was trying to find the correct graphic.
Of course.
That kind of proves that we're going on live here. So for tomorrow's wind chill factors, notice this is mainly during the morning commute time. Notice closer to Lake Michigan, once again, the cloud cover helping folks stay warm. Big difference here. Only going to be feeling like -4 degrees, -4 degrees up in South Bend. Down in Winnemac, Pulaski County, -24 degrees, just because they're going to be seeing crystal clear skies in the morning time. Obviously, when you don't have any cloud cover to trap in the warmth, all the warmth escapes up into the atmosphere, disappears, and that's the end of the story. That's what they're going to be dealing with in the morning. South Bend, Elkhart, Goshen area tomorrow morning going to be warmer, and then in the afternoon, after the lake effect passes by the noontime hour, that's when skies are going to clear for everybody, and that's going to level the playing field, and temperatures across the board are going to settle right around -10 to -15 degrees in the middle of the afternoon. Once again, hence the air temperature being right around 0 degrees as our high temperature. Now, finally, we can move on to our 10-day forecast and say goodbye before we join everybody back here on Channel 16 for 11 o'clock. Here's a look at that 10-day forecast. And if you wanted a lot of warming, I'm sorry, maybe check in next week because unfortunately, it just doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a lot of chances for warmth in this 10-day. Let's go ahead and once again start with tomorrow. Lake effect snow lasting all the way until noon, 1 o'clock, and then that is out of the area. We'll show that snowfall map again. I just remembered that. Now, as we make our way throughout the week, we're going to try to warm 12 degrees Tuesday, 13 degrees Wednesday, and then we're falling back right around 10 degrees on Thursday. Bit of a warming trend going into the weekend, a pair of 18s on Friday and Saturday, and then it's looking like Sunday. Not today, obviously. We've got to wait a whole another 7 days. That's when we can maybe get back to 20 degrees as a high temperature. Next Wednesday, day 10 on the 10-day forecast is showcasing a high temperature at 27 degrees. So once again, we're looking at least 10 more days of below freezing temperatures, 10 more days of temperatures being well below our average high temperature. And we're looking at, hold on, let me do some math real quick. About 8 more days with temperatures under 25 degrees. So it is going to be a very cold end to the month and looking like it's going to be a fairly cold beginning of February. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember, one of those is Groundhog Day. And we need
that's right.
And we need the groundhog to give us some good news.
Hopefully,
because we need it. We need that groundhog, and we need Phil to come out and give us some news. And like I said before, let's go ahead and check out snow totals one more time before we say goodbye. And as we go throughout the evening time, once again, lake effect snow just currently, I'm talking currently, just affecting Valparaiso, Michigan City now. It's going to move throughout Michiana in the overnight hours. It'll be in South Bend right around 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and it'll be completely out of here by 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I do expect most folks to be in that 2 to 4 inch range. That's going to be in this Columbia blue, affecting, let's say, US 631, northern portions of US 30, the toll road 8090 there, and of course our dear friend the bypass as well. See this darker purple here? That is going to be where we see some heavier snow starting to set up. We're talking 5 to 7 inches when all is said and done. We have two kind of bullseyes here. It's going to be northern LaPorte County, so Rolling Prairie, New Carlisle areas are going to be impacted by that. Our second bullseye is going to be up in Berrien County, spilling over into Cass County. That's where we are going to be seeing, once again, 5 to 7 inches. Obviously, that red sticking out like a sore thumb on this map. 8 to 10 inches of snow. As of now, it's fairly general. I do think the best chance for 8 to 10 inches is going to be up in northern Berrien County and maybe spilling over into portions of Cass County. I wouldn't rule out Three Oaks, even though it is over here, but that is where I think the heaviest snowfall is going to be expected for the overnight forecast. A lot of things that we're watching for and a lot of updates too. If there's any changes I see in the data, be sure to bring it to you coming up at 11 o'clock, John.
Thank you, Jack. And the summary is that more snow is coming up, and also with that frigid temperature here in Michiana. Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. We'll see you at 11.
Of course. And once again, our First Alert weather app is free to download at Google Play and App Store, where you can get the latest weather information. Jack, me, and our Sabrina Hubel will join you at 11 and our 16 News Now at 11 on Channel 16 with the latest news, sports, and weather updates. That wraps our streamcast at 10 on this First Alert Weather Day. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.